Yeah, okay. Hi everyone, good evening. Hope we're all keeping nice and warm here in Akasha. So I'm going to present some research that we produce this report every quarter. It's the Web3 Cybersecurity Report. This is up to Q3 that we're going to look at tonight, but if you're interested in the whole year, then we're going to present that pretty soon on our blog. And if anyone wants access to the data behind this, then please come and get me after the talk. My name is Bryn. I'm the Business Development Manager at Hacken. We're very famous for our work on cybersecurity audits, particularly on blockchain protocols and smart contracts. We've done over 1,500 audits. We don't just do audits, we also have several post-deployment solutions as well. For example, Hacken Proof, which is a bug bounty platform. Paying white hat hackers for bug bounties is a lot cheaper than paying black hat hackers when they hack your protocol. We also have a Web3 firewall product called Extractor. And this kind of tries to intercept hackers as they're trying to execute malicious transactions. It's also got AML compliance built in as well. And then we have Certified as well, and this is where we publish a lot of data about the cybersecurity approach of centralized exchanges, who are among some of the worst offenders when it comes to being hacked and having funds from their customers stolen. Why should you give a S about security? Because it helps you to save money, because it helps you to not go to prison, because it helps to keep the trust of your community, and also it gives you a long-term business trajectory. So let's get into the data. Okay, in total, over the 2024, $463 million has been stolen, okay, in USD. 1.8, okay. 136 total incidents, and in 90% of these cases, they had no audit whatsoever. The biggest sector that was attacked and where funds were stolen was in centralized exchanges, and these were mostly from exchange wallets being hacked, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the techniques that we used in a couple of minutes. As well, at number 2, we've got yield aggregators with $35 million and bridges with $28 million hacked and exploited. And then, I'm not sure if you guys can... Okay. Okay, there we go, sorry. And then as well, there's also Oracle service provider hacks, layer 1 protocol hacks, lending and borrowing attacks as well. Well, this is not working on my side, sorry. Okay, so what are some of the threats that we face? Smart contract exploits, weak spots in blockchain architecture, flash loan attacks. So just going to turn this around so it works. Suboptimal testing, so this is where you haven't done enough testing before launching a product. Flash loan attacks, Oracle manipulations, and faulty code. But by far the biggest one this year was access control and data breach attacks. So this is where private keys or admin keys have been compromised. We can just see over here that, and this is a massive jump from last year, that's in 68.71% of the cases, it was actually an access control breach. So this is where the hacker has total control over the contract or the wallet, the private keys. And you can just see there the pure amount of money that's been taken. So the number of hacks is decreasing, but the amount of money that's been stolen is increasing. In fact, we saw that even Coinbase isn't immune to being hacked. They actually used AI to simulate the voices of their staff, and were able to SIM swap some of their staff and able to gain access to some accounts. In the case of PlayDAP, which is a $290 million exploit that happened earlier in the year, there was a token contract where the hacker got access to the private key and was able to completely drain all of the liquidity. In most of these cases where the hackers got the access control, it's completely unrecoverable in terms of the funds. So you can just see here the big jump in terms of fund recoverability in the green here. Right now in Q3, over the last few incidents, it's been mostly unrecoverable funds. And here we have just an example of the lack of budgeting for cybersecurity within Web3. So most Web2 sort of banking institutions and financial institutions, they'll be spending between 20 to 25 of their budget on cybersecurity tooling and various software products. For most other types of apps like Facebook and this kind of stuff, it's going to be between 5 to 10%. But in Web 2, it's only 2%. And one of the big sort of comments that I get when I talk to projects is that they don't have the budget for cybersecurity, for audits and this kind of thing. And I would just say to anyone that's in that situation to come and speak to us, because there is now more access to funding, whether it's from grants or from investors, VCs and these kind of people who want to make sure that the projects that they invest in, that the projects that they're building on their protocols are secure, and there's lots of funding available. So if you are deploying a project and you're worried about the cost of your audits, then just speak to us, because there's lots of options. And yeah, I just want to break off there a little bit and invite people to ask questions before we go into some practical steps that you can take. And sorry about the display issues earlier on.
Question. Keep going.
Okay. Nice. So there's a kind of four-step approach to practically defending your projects against hackers. First of all, as we said, access control hacks are 68% of the total exploited value this year, so team and operations is a huge one. Smart contracts and blockchain protocols, obviously, make sure you are testing as much as possible, make sure you are getting code audited. Look at pen testing your application network and infrastructure as well. And then also look particularly at compliance and regulation, especially if you are set up in the EU and dealing with EU residents and citizens. Okay, so let's start with number one, secure teams and operations. I'm just going to leave this slide up here so people can take pictures if they want. This is lots and lots of steps that you can take to avoid having your private keys stolen. Okay, so, you know, some basic security in there as well, but also just make sure that you're not putting dodgy devices into your PC or scanning QR codes at events and this kind of thing with the same computer that you control your contracts with. Using password and email to log in to critical systems is just not safe enough. You have to use 2FA these days. Even this week, the Agencia Tributaria in Spain has been hacked for 560 gigabytes of data, and they're currently being held at ransom for $38 million. So that's basically our entire tax authority, right, in Spain. It was a company, okay. Well, regardless, I actually met someone who is involved in business with them, and he said that they, quote unquote, mostly handle things internally. So seems like that's not the case anymore. Okay, obviously, Adrian has a full workshop on how to look after your seed phrase. Recommend you check that out on the Web3 Family website. And also make sure you are using trusted exchanges when you're buying crypto, whenever you're trading, okay? We have this website, sir.live, and we have lots of data about which exchanges are trustworthy, whether they've been audited, whether if they get hacked, you'll get any money back. And we also feed that into CoinGecko's Trust Score as well. Okay. So the next section is the network infrastructure, your application infrastructure, your cloud infrastructure as well is very important. These are all attack surfaces for hackers. In the case of WazirX, $230 million was the high score there. And again, it was an access control hack. They compromised the signer's EOAs, and they subsequently took all of the liquidity from the multisig. Sorry. Again, with your smart contracts and your blockchain protocol code as well, make sure you're having third-party audits. Make sure you have a robust testing. We can actually help with building fuzzing tooling and invariance testing, these more advanced techniques as well. So that's part of the way we help the people we work with to get this testing phase as robust as possible pre-audit. Played up $290 million here was via a smart contract token vulnerability. And yeah, as you can see, there's probably lots of companies like Hacken that do audits. I would say to anyone that's building a product that's got a significant value lock to even look at using multiple providers. Essentially, a third-party audit is having someone review your code base in a very intricate level, but you can guarantee that if two auditors look at the same piece of code, they're going to find individual different issues. And here are some recommendations of how to prepare for audits. So yeah, make sure you have your functional requirements set up. You've got good documentation, and this is something that we see a lot of bad documentation. Set up your repo, set up your dev environment, clean up your code before audit. Make sure there's access to the auditor to accurate unit testing, and make sure you give a very detailed scope as well. Okay, cool. So, post-launch, you can also look at bug bounty programs as well. A bounty, again, is way cheaper. Paying a bounty is way cheaper to a white hat than paying a black hat to steal all of your funds. Here you can see that some of the major hacks over the last sort of couple of years. Ronin was one of the biggest ever, $625 million here. And now they have a $1 million bounty. So essentially, if they wouldn't have been hacked, they would have done a 625x there. Wormhole, this is a famous bridge, isn't it? $326 million was hacked from Wormhole. $10 million is now their bounty reward. Very nice bounty. I think they have it over multiple platforms as well. Very nice approach. They would have done a 32x. Poly Network, wow, 611, this is insane, isn't it? $611 million, and they have a pretty meager bounty. Maybe their trust might have been eroded and didn't recover as much. So just one of the success stories from our side then. We actually have a $1 million bug bounty on NEAR protocol for their protocol layer. For their smart contracts, we have 500K. Even for the website, we have 50K. And we had a white hat within our ecosystem that found a very critical bug. And he was paid the bounty of $1.8 million. He averted a potential loss that day of $7.8 million. So they saved quite a lot of money, but also their community's trust as well. Around half of all the NEAR tokens in circulation could have been affected by that one. And this is how bug bounties work. So you have your project basically. you set the scope for your bug bounties. So like in Nia's case, they have 4 different scope levels. Then the white hats within the bug bounty platform are going to try to find bugs. With big bug bounties, you're going to get a lot of reports. So it's essential to validate them to make sure that you don't have invalid reports, you're not giving bounties out when the bug isn't legit. So actually this team from Hacken helped to triage the bug reports as well. And once those are validated, they could be applied to any of the levels of scope as well, and the white hat would get some money. Just to put it in perspective on Hackenproof, we have 35,000 white hat hackers in that ecosystem. So it's essentially like a continuous crowdsourced audit. And we actually combine that with the audits from our main company as well. So right now we have this dual defense program live, and basically Hacken will do an audit for your project, and then for 30 days after you've had the audit complete, the project's launched, brilliant, on mainnet, then we're going to open this bug bounty pool, and it becomes a competition between white hats trying to find bugs and the stakers from our community who are trying to generate some nice DeFi yield. And so far we've sold out all of the pools in like 10 minutes. And it's been very nice for some of the product launches that have gone through there. And then there's also other techniques that you can use involving automated protection as well. So on most public blockchains, it's possible to monitor the mempool where transactions are lining up before they get posted into blocks. And on those blockchains, it's not so effective on private blockchains, of course. It's possible to sort of automate responses to suspicious or malicious activity. So if we can detect via extractor that someone is about to execute a liquidity drain, then it's possible to jump in front of the hacker and potentially, move the liquidity into a secure multisig, or block their ability to transact, for example, if they're on a anti-terror financing blacklist or anything like that. And because we don't want to be awake 24/7, 7 days a week, we need to be able to respond immediately when hacks happen. For Ronin, which was one of the biggest hacks ever, it took 6 days before they took action against the hacker, and most of the funds weren't recovered. So here's a little breakdown of how much could have been prevented with automated monitoring here. In some of these cases, like Nexera here, $1.5 million could have been saved if they had an automated system. This one's quite small, but with Onyx, it was $3.8 million here as well. And in some of these cases, the hackers are using multiple techniques to be able to take money. So in some cases, it's not as possible as you can see. In Ronin's case, they could have saved $12 million. This is just a sort of dashboard that we put together with various contracts. So this is kind of how our system works. There are other systems, of course. You can see here that this is a sequencer. This is the inbox for that sequencer. And you can monitor any wallet and any sort of contract as well. Here on this sequencer, there's lots of security incidents. There's over 20 detectors now, from anti-money laundering to total liquidity drain attack detectors to circulating supply chain, i.e. mint and burn attacks. And I use it personally when people airdrop me tokens at conferences, and I would just run it for a few weeks to check them before I interact with them. And on the compliance front, so for anyone that's got a project that's going to be dealing with EU residents and citizens, the legal landscape for us has completely changed. We have Mika that concerns sort of tokenization and token issuance, and then we have DORA as well that's coming in. If you're issuing tokens, you need to be, and you want a Mika license, you need to be DORA compliant. And DORA is the big one that Hacken's concerned about. So this is the Digital Operations Resilience Act. It's a response to the constant attacks on critical infrastructure like the Spanish tax authority or Endesa that was also hacked earlier in the year. And it basically requires you to not just look at your smart contracts or your protocol. You're going to have to take a full system level approach. So looking at all of the infrastructure, all of the third-party providers you use, including us, potentially, Fireblocks and any other services like that. And you're going to have to make quite detailed risk assessments and incident response plans for the entire system. Alongside that, we're going to have threat-led penetration testing, which is red team and blue team, every year. And then you're going to need some kind of constant compliance monitoring tool as well, really, to meet the reporting requirements. So we're consulting on all of this stuff at the moment, and if anyone is concerned about the DORA regulation that's coming in on the 17th of January, I'm doing a free online workshop next week on Wednesday, so you can follow the QR code there and you'll be able to sign up to that. I'll just leave it up there for a minute so people can scan it. One thing to consider is so this regulation looks like GDPR, and the EU was the first to move with that data protection regulation. And you can go on a website anywhere in the world and you'll see this cookie acceptance banner pop up, right? So it's a transnational regulation, and already you're seeing that regulators from outside the European Union are adopting this methodology as well. So obviously we can help with the preparations for that. We have the extractor system that does constant monitoring and compliance reporting. And then we also offer a virtual CSIO service as well. So if you don't have the budget for full-time CSIO, you can use us. Okay, and here's a couple of QR codes that link to my Telegram. If you're interested in learning more about any of the data that we've presented here today, then you can just drop me a DM on Telegram, I think is usually the best way to reach me. And if you just want to connect and talk about your project and how secure it is, feel free to get in touch. I think we have a couple of minutes for questions.
Questions?
The Luma, yeah? Okay. I don't know why this isn't... Yeah, there we go.
Question over here.
What are your thoughts about the use of private mempool, since it's pretty much makes all the monitoring system unusable?
So I've worked for years with privacy-preserving blockchains, and I feel like all of us need privacy on chain in order for us to attack use cases, all of the use cases like, for example, paying your taxes or passport issuance or healthcare or savings accounts. All this stuff needs privacy. Yes, Extractor isn't going to work on that, but Extractor is a product for financial institutions, for transparency at government level, for constant monitoring. I mean, us as users, you can use Extractor now to look at tokens and wallets and whale watch and this kind of stuff, but really that's a product aimed at institutions. So and also we build teams to tackle really advanced cryptographic projects as well. So that's another sort of area that I'm involved in. If you're building with ZKs or FHE or anything like that, I'd love to chat to you and hear about the project. Anyone else?
Questions? Going once, going twice. Round of applause for Bri.